What's up, everybody? Coach Ben podcast. I'm here with Jim from Jiu-Jitsu Magazine. What's up, Jim?
Hey, what's going on, Ben? So we had another weekend of another event. It was a co-promotion between Fight to Win and Flow Grappling's Who's Number One that took place, and we're gonna you're gonna break down what you saw on the main card, some of the main matches on the weekend. So what'd you see?
Well, first of all, thank you to Muscle Farm for providing us this nice space here, this nice studio. Thank you to Muscle Farm and Mr. Ryan Drexler. So this weekend on Saturday afternoon evening, we had Who's Number One in Costa Mesa. And it was like a unique tournament because, not tournament, sorry. It was a unique event. It was all super fights. And the rules for the event was IBJJF rules with, I believe it's equal time limits to the belts, with one exception, which is the last score determined the winner if there was a tie. This is to avoid ref decisions. And then it was just if the athletes were equal on points, advantages, and penalties, then the last points would dictate the winner. Okay, so I don't think it really came into play that much, at least in the main card. But that was the one difference. The other difference, and this is important to me because I do weight cuts a lot for fighters. It was the weigh-in was the day before without the gi, so that changes a few things. So that the weigh-in without the gi the day before basically makes it so that you can cut weight now, right? So most IBJJF competitions, when you weigh in, you compete like in 5 seconds. So that or at least sometimes
Sure.
you wait a little bit, an hour or two. So that I think that does change a few things, but for the most part, I doubt it had a huge effect on a lot of the athletes. And a lot of these guys, they were all ranked, in the top 5, right? So they were at the highest level of their belt, weight class, etc. One thing I really liked about this event was that they didn't really highlight, belts that much. It was more about the biggest name guys had the marquee, right? They, like the co-main event was, the main event and the co-main event were black belts, right? But the match before that was a purple belt match, right? And then there was black belts in the prelims and all that stuff. So I like that. I think at the end of the day, belts probably don't matter when you're at this level.
Sure, because the match that we saw between two purple belts, it's like that was some amazing movement, amazing position, and the way he finished the fight that you'll get into. But it's about the entertainment value and
Right.
Having their matchmakers identify who are the guys that are going to bring it and really work hard for a W.
Yeah, it'll be a humbling experience if you roll with these purple belts. Even for us as black belts, it's just. I've rolled with some of these guys.
I mean, hell, Nicky Rod's only a blue belt, right?
He's a different thing. He's a completely different animal
But
too.
that
yeah,
to the point.
Similar.
To the
yeah.
point.
Yeah, he's competing with black belts, ADCC champions, and hanging in there. So that's the first thing. I really like that this event cared more about the name of the competitor, their kind of like their name value over their belt level.
Right.
A lot of times in some of these events, you see the purple belts. Some of the purple belts, they have the highest name value, but they're in like the prelims because they had to showcase the black belts. And a lot of these black belts, I mean, let's be honest, they wouldn't be able to beat this purple belt. These purple belts are world class.
They're exceptional,
and
right?
People need to accept that.
Right.
That needs to be just put out there. That there's just because your belt level is black color does not mean that you are going to be superior to a world class purple belt that is a young kid that trains full time. All right, so I'm not going to be able to obviously cover all the matches. There's too many. So I'm going to try to cover the ones I think people would be interested in and that have some replay value. So first one, I was really interested in this match because it's a guy that I know pretty well just from my world, strength and conditioning. It was Chad Wesley Smith versus Nasima In Yang. Chad Wesley Smith is a guy who's pretty well known in strength conditioning. He's a power lifter. He has like world records in powerlifting, and he's a guy that I've always wondered how he would do in jiu-jitsu with the training that he's done. I think it's pretty minimal training. I don't think he's been training very long. He's a blue belt. And Nasima, I never heard of him, but he's a purple belt and very skilled from what I saw. Chad, is a big guy, power lifter, and I thought maybe he would overpower Nasima, but it just, at the end of the day, Nasima was just better technically. He got Chad to the mount and then arm barred him. It was just beautiful jiu-jitsu, just standard jiu-jitsu. And yeah, just Chad just lacked a few of the basics that kind of you need, right? You need to be able to get out of mount, with something, with some technique. And he kind of seemed a little bit lost there, or he was maybe gassed at that point. But anyway, that was one of the matches where I think people should go back and watch if you just want to see a really, really strong and powerful guy versus another probably very strong guy too, but more of a jiu-jitsu guy and versus a powerlifter. That was an interesting match. All right, and Nasima wins by armbar. Next match I thought was that we should cover is Tynan Daupra defeats Mike Kalichian via bow and arrow choke. Okay, so Mike Kalichian was a late replacement. I think he was like last day, like 24 hours, less than 24-hour notice. And Tynan, people know who he is. He's one of the up-and-coming AOJ brown belts. He's doing seminars around the world. He's famous, right? So he pretty much outclassed Mike. Big props to Mike for taking this fight on such short notice and against a guy that, I'm just going to be honest. It was they're not on the same level at this moment. Mike is a brown belt, but Tynan is ranked number one. I think he's like number one or number two. So we're not talking. It was not gonna. Mike had very little options. Okay, so props to him for taking the fight and doing the best he could. He lost via bow and arrow choke. Tynan, I believe, has like his own system from the back, so showcased it beautifully. Next match. So next match was this is an interesting match. I thought I've been following this guy for a very long time now. It seems like Connor DeAngelis. So he's a brown belt from Atos, and there's just something about his game that resonates well with me. It seems like it's very simple. He has like two moves, but he just does those two moves so well that people can't stop him. If you really wanted to just hammer in like two or three moves, watch Connor DeAngelis. He's got his come up sweep. He's got his leg weave, and really that's all you need, And he faced a guy who was also came in. There's a lot of pullouts, by the way. This other guy, Miha Prahovic. I hope I'm saying his last name right. Miha stepped in with I think it was less than 6 hours notice, so showed incredible defense. If you want to see just great defense and great recomposure of the guard, watch this match. Watch what Miha does. Seemed like he was never in danger. But at the same time, Connor wins 12-0. I wouldn't expect nothing less. He's a IBJJF guy, top ranked brown belt, one of the most consistent guys, and his game is unique. I think I model a lot of my game after his game, and I've been studying his stuff since I think he was like a purple belt, or maybe even blue belt. I remember him doing like a local tournament around here and just crushed everybody at blue belt, and he faced a bunch of purple belts and crushed them. So look into his stuff. If you want to just have a very basic game, look into Connor DeAngelis' game. I thought it was very interesting. Okay, female match. So Jessica Khan versus Vicky Huang, brown belt rooster weight. Not much. Not too much happened. Jessica Khan was in a triangle, but it wasn't really like a very. It didn't seem like it was going to finish. She got the legs over the top, and then eventually she gets a toe hold. That toe hold, by the way, if you're brown belt, if you're purple belt, even and you're about to be a brown belt, you need to study that outside ashi toe hold. I think because there's no heel hooks in gi IBJJF competition, that outside ashi toe hold where you just sit up and you just grab sit up onto your elbow, grab that toe hold is very dangerous. Right now I think that move is underutilized. So, check out that match. I thought that was a great finish. Very hard to defend when the person locks their hands together. So yeah, that was a good match. Andy Murasaki and Tai Rutolo, they both win their brown and purple belt lightweight matchups respectively. It wasn't the most exciting matches. I think they both won by judges' decision, controversial. And their opponents, Lucas Bertasio and Jonathan Marquez, they did really well. I think it was almost like a flip-flop. Lucas could not pass Andy's guard, and then Ty could not pass Jonathan's guard, and then they ended up winning. Ty and Andy both ended up winning by decision. Not much to really see there. Good guard retention from the guys on the bottom, but yeah, they win. All right, so now we're getting into kind of the more, I would say, the more like the main events, right? So
the meat and potatoes of the night.
Yeah. So this match, this was the purple belt match that we watched right before, Jim, and this was Mikael Galvao and Mateus Rodriguez, purple belt medium heavyweight, and I believe, these guys are all both top ranked. Mika Galvao was, I believe, number 1 ranked blue belt last year, and he's only 16 years old. So this kid has huge hype. He's probably one of the biggest prospects that I can think of. Trains out of Alliance in Vegas, and I mean, this match had a lot of stuff happen. I from what I can recall, first thing Mika did was take the back of Mateus. Mateus did a very nice counter, ended up on top, passed the guard, had Galvao in a bit of trouble, and then rolled into a crucifix somehow on Galvao. And Galvao escapes, and just with a brilliant back take, takes Mateus's back. And again, I can't emphasize enough, this kid is 16 years old. He takes his back, and I've actually never seen this submission finished, but it was a rear naked choke with both arms trapped with the legs. So it was quite a unique move. I don't think you can get into that position very easily without a roll. So go back and watch the scrambles in this match. I mean, Galvao also played a type of lasso guard that I think is becoming very popular, where you put the lasso under their butt. You lasso their arm, and then you hook the leg under their butt or their hamstring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're getting into an age right now where we're seeing Keenan's previous work of years. Anyone who's followed Keenan and the whole lasso guard, the worm guard and lasso guard. It's people are starting to really utilize it. It's something that's always been around, but now it's on people's conscience that people are, lasso guard. I don't know, maybe a different episode we'll talk, but you like breaking down trends.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more lapel work and a lot more lasso guard work.
Yeah.
And, it's very, very interesting note.
Yeah, we're going to definitely get into it in the next match with Keenan, but it's good and bad to me. I have some criticisms.
Sure.
There's good and bad. So with the match with Mika Galvao and Mateus Rodriguez, I mean, just this guy, Mika Galvao, I don't think I've seen a talent like that in quite a while. 16 years old, and he's beating adult, world champions. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see him against tougher competition as well. But I was really impressed by his ability to recover. I couldn't believe how he got out of some of these positions, just with grit. All right, so he wins by rear naked choke. All right, the final two matches, they were kind of like the main event and the co-main event. The co-main event was Roberto Jimenez and Keenan Cornelius. So this was Roberto's black belt debut, and it was a wild match. I have some opinions on this match, but this is kind of like what you were talking about, Jim, where Keenan's using lapels. He's introduced this thing called lapel wrestling now, where you use the lapel to wrestle. and it's not like the lapel wrestling where you just feed under the leg once and then you're coming up on a single. This is like it seems like a lot more advanced than that. And I might get some disagreements on this even by Keenan, but I honestly think that Keenan was doing a little too much of his own new unique system in this match, as opposed to focusing on like a basic jiu-jitsu game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Keenan, when he was a purple belt, brown belt, he was like a monster at taking the back. Taking the back. When he got to your back, it was done. It was over. He had this Ezekiel. He had the bow and arrow. He had all kinds. He had Kimura traps.
Yeah, it was on full display back in that Kumite thing, where when he was a brown belt, it's like that. Yeah. There was a repetitive type of pattern, and
Lloyd Irvin Kumite. I mean, it just seems that his game changed so much, and this is a good and a bad thing.
Sure.
I thought Keenan dominated the match, but there were certain key fundamental things that he couldn't do. Like he had Roberto's back a couple times, but he couldn't sink the hooks, I don't know, who am I to criticize, but I think that Keenan may be too focused on the lapel at this moment, and
still in essence still working on his system.
Yeah, he's still working on his unique system, and I think not only that, it's that people are also catching up. People are starting to understand the lapel a little better, and so Roberto wasn't the type of guy to really fall for a lot of these things. He had these unique spins where he would get out of the worm entanglement, and when I face somebody that has a good worm guard, I catch myself staring a lot of the time. I'm like, what is this? And then next thing you know, they're on your back, or you've been swept, right? But Roberto seemed to have a counter for this, and he was constantly attacking with Barambolos. Just a very smart match, and it was a big upset. Roberto pulls off the upset 6-4, and he pulled close guard at the very end to ensure the victory. And I honestly think that Roberto outsmarted Keenan in this matchup. Keenan was too focused on kind of like his system,
implementing
his lapel stuff, and Roberto just attacked with basic Barambolos and basic takedowns. And that's it. He wins 6-4. Amazing.
It was apparent that he did his homework and did the proper preparation, and for his training for this matchup.
Yeah. I agree. And Keenan showing, that he's beatable nowadays, right? I remember this guy was unsubmittable at some point, and he got caught at the Europeans. Maybe that gave Roberto a little bit of confidence. And so Roberto wins. Calls out steroid users. And gets a big pop from the crowd. Right? He brings up Musa Messi and Lucas Lepre as like the clean competitors, and himself. And we have an episode coming up this week that we're going to talk about that, actually, Jim. So just stay tuned. So anyway, Roberto Jimenez, amazing display against a seasoned black belt. I remember this kid when he was a blue belt in a local tournament in Brea. He was back then already very, very, very good. I can only imagine how good he is now. And not imagine. I see how good he is now. He's beating world-class black belts in IBJJF rules. Cool. So the main event. Nicholas Marigali versus Victor Hugo, black belt ultra heavyweight. This was a great match. Obviously, Victor Hugo just came out of that double gold performance, I believe, at the Nogi Worlds, right? Yeah, where he knee barred Cyborg.
Yes,
that was him. So there's something. This match was great because there's a lot of things that both of these guys do very well that needs to be kind of studied, in my opinion. Victor Hugo, there's a lot of tape on Nicholas Marigali already. I think he has there's studies out on him, and his game has been pretty much broken down. He's got that deep De La Riva. If he gets you in that, you're done. You're swept. Victor Hugo, though, this guy is, I think I said a few breakdowns before, this guy was going to be a superstar. He had a unique game, and it really was on display today because it wasn't Nicholas Marigali's world class. He wasn't going to get caught instantly, so we get to see counters and things like that. So Victor Hugo has this unique double leg control knee bar guard that I just made that up, but that's what it looks like. It's like a 50-50 knee bar guard where he controls two legs. So he's doing a double leg lock attack from the 50-50. When the other guy stands, he inverts. I mean, we need to get BJJ Scout to do a breakdown on Victor Hugo's guard. Shout out to BJJ Scout, whoever you are. We got to see some of Nicholas Maragali's best stuff too. He hits his signature loop choke. Right, didn't catch Victor, but he had it deep. His signature deep De La Riva sweep may be the most unstoppable sweep in jiu-jitsu. If you're tall, I don't think you need to be that tall, but if you like that deep De La Riva, you need to study Nicholas Maragali. He's got the best deep De La Riva sweep I've ever seen. And for people facing Maragali in the future, this is just my opinion, you got to stay on your knees. Okay, you cannot let this guy enter or engage De La Riva. It's over. If he engages that, he's coming up. All right. So Victor Hugo, there was a scramble in this match. I believe it starts at 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in the match. So at 2 minutes 10 seconds left in the match, this scramble gets initiated where Maragali obviously goes for the deep De La Riva, sweeps Victor, but Victor doesn't accept this position and comes up immediately on a single. So before the ref can award the two, Victor comes up on a single. They scramble. Victor comes up on top with a leg weave, and I think that closed the match right there. That Nicholas couldn't get up anymore. Victor kept forcing the body lock, forcing the double knees pressure, and that was it. That won the match. Again, somebody needs to study Victor Hugo's like his guard. Like his guard is very unique. It's almost like his guard is completely reliant on the 50-50 and like maybe a lapel here and there and then leg lock attacks. It's very strange. I've never seen a guard like this. He enters it and he forces you to play his game. And I think with his size and height and length and weight, it's kind of unbelievable to see. So yeah, that was it. That was main event. Victor Hugo ends up winning by 2 points. 2 points. He beats Nicholas Maragali. He should be ranked number 1 at this point. All right. So that's the breakdown for the event. I didn't see too many trends, honestly. Because a lot of these guys play very different games, so it's hard to see like true trends, right? Yeah, I'm not sure if lapel wrestling is going to be a thing, but I did see other competitors use it, so it might be a thing.
Yeah. So at this point, we'll see what takes from this event, what took, and what direction people are going to go with their offense, defense. There are some emergences. Emergences, is that a real word? There is emerging of some new trends. And based on the point system, and one of them is you kind of mentioned it, is the quick get up from a guard pull,
not accepting
the guard pull. Yeah. And that's actually that's been playing a role, and it's been creating havoc because a lot of people still don't know to exploit that rule set.
Oh, you're talking about from the double guard pull?
Yeah, from the double guard pull.
Okay, so from the double guard pull, I think the trick right now is to attack a submission off of the double guard pull and force your opponent to stand.
Right.
Giving them the advantage, but giving you the ability to sweep as the last person to sweep.
Right.
That gives you a tremendous advantage because usually it's easier for the person on bottom to sweep than the person on top to pass.
And what we're seeing is a lot of people not accepting the guard pull and standing up real quick, and then fighting from a traditional in the guard, fighting from in their opponent's guard by standing up on a guard pull.
Right.
If that made sense.
The one I see even more is when there's a sweep. So this usually you only saw this in like ADCC, but nowadays you see it like all the time in just gi competitions, is the emergence of wrestling, right? So Victor Hugo did it in his last match. As soon as he got swept, he did not accept the sweep, and he immediately swept back by wrestling, basically. And it's dangerous. You get back taken this way, but you deny your opponent the points. And that's huge because they just blew all this energy on this sweep, and then you just it's like demoralizing.
Right.
So
right.
I think that's going to be a big trend in jiu-jitsu is the emergence of wrestling. And I already told you, but it's very hard to get wrestling training, right? So you have to, especially for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's mat time.
Yeah, it's very hard to, as an adult, get wrestling training.
Oh, especially so. Yeah.
And then now you add the gi. It's almost like you have to kind of create your own system or class for this thing, right? So, one trend I did see that I think it is something at this point is that lasso guard, where you stick the foot underneath their kind of like their butt, right? So you see it a lot. Mika Galvao used it. There was a bunch of people on the prelims that used it, and I think that's just it's just people are starting to get better at controlling distance with the guard. And yeah, that was just something I noticed. I don't have much else to say about it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see. Again, it's always fun to see what sticks from one, major event.
Yeah.
If you want to categorize this as major, but let's say high-profile event to the next. It's always fun to see how are people going to come out. How do they prepare between these events? So it'll be fun.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it.
All right. Once again, Coach Ben, good breakdown. If you want to keep in touch with him, at Coach BZ on Instagram, and throw out some direct messages to the guy or hashtag something. But another episode down, another breakdown completed. Good job, Coach Ben.
Thank you, Jim.
All
Follow
right.
Jim at Jiu-Jitsu Mag.
Oh yeah, that's me. All right. Thanks, everybody.
At Muscle Farm.
Yeah. Shout out once again, Muscle Farm HQ. Go get some protein. All right.